The wind howled across the barren stretch of Wyoming prairie like a wounded animal, tearing through the wooden slats of the old barn. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the sharp smell of iron. A lantern swung weakly from a beam, throwing broken shadows across two figures, one standing, one kneeling. "Please," she whispered, voice cracking under the weight of everything she'd endured. "I beg you, just make it quick." The rancher froze. His hand trembled around the cold barrel of his revolver. The woman before him was bruised, her torn dress clinging to skin streaked with dried blood and rain. She looked up at him through eyes that no longer feared death, but almost welcomed it. Outside, thunder rolled across the open sky. "Clara," he murmured, barely recognizing his own voice. "What in God's name happened to you?" Her lip quivered. "Don't ask, James, please. You don't want to know." He stepped closer, the lantern light catching his face. Hard lines carved by years of sun and solitude now softened with disbelief. He remembered her laughter once, bright as a church bell, years ago, before her husband took her west to that cursed valley where men disappeared and no law dared follow. "Clara, I thought you were dead," she finished, almost smiling. "I was, for a long time." The storm outside broke, rain slashing against the tin roof. She shivered, pulling the tattered shawl tighter around her shoulders. "They took everything, James. The ranch, the cattle, even our graves. My boys didn't make it." James felt the revolver grow heavier in his hand. He had seen cruelty in his life, outlaws, thieves, even lawmen who hid their evil behind a badge, but nothing like the quiet ruin standing before him now. Her eyes, once green as spring wheat, were hollowed out, gray and endless. "Why come here?" he asked hoarsely. "Why come to me?" "Because you're the only one who ever had a soul left in this damned place," she said, her voice shaking. "And because I can't keep living with what I did." James lowered the gun slowly, confusion clouding the storm in his eyes. "What you did?" Clara's breath hitched, her body trembling with every word. "Those men who came after my family, they didn't die in that fire like everyone thinks. I made sure they didn't." Her fingers dug into the dirt beneath her knees. "I waited for them to sleep, and I said it myself. I watched them burn, every scream, every face. I didn't stop until the fire took everything." The silence that followed was unbearable. James took a step back. He had buried men before, killed his share when justice failed, but this was different. Clara wasn't a monster. She was something worse, a woman who'd lost too much to care about the line between right and wrong. Lightning cracked, lighting up her face in a flash of raw pain. "Now do it," she whispered. "Before the sun comes up. Before I have to feel again." James raised the revolver, but his hand wouldn't steady. His throat burned with the taste of whiskey and sorrow. "I can't," he said. "Not you." Her lips parted in disbelief, then twisted into a bitter smile. "Then you're crueler than they ever were." The words cut deep, sharper than any blade. Suddenly, a horse neighed from outside, hooves pounding the wet earth. Both their heads snapped toward the door. The sound of spurs and boots followed, muffled by the storm. Clara's breath hitched. "They found me." James's instincts kicked in. He spun, cocking the revolver and blowing out the lantern with a swift motion. The barn plunged into darkness, save for the flashes of lightning slicing through the gaps in the wall. 3 silhouettes approached, rifles in hand. Voices barked orders through the rain. "Spread out. She's here somewhere." Clara gripped James's arm. "Don't fight them. You don't know who they are." But he already knew. The marks on their coats, the black scarves, they were from the Stanton gang, men hired by the railroad to clear unwanted settlers. They'd been burning homesteads for months, calling it progress. He whispered, "Get behind me." "No, James," she said, her voice fierce now. "You'll die. Then I'll die standing." The door burst open. Thunder roared as gunfire exploded inside the barn. Bullets ripped through hay bales and splintered wood. James fired back, hitting one, then another. Clara screamed as sparks flew from a bullet striking the lantern pole. Flames licked upward, catching the dry straw. Smoke filled the air. The world turned into chaos, fire, rain, blood, and thunder blending into one violent hymn. James felt a sharp pain tear through his side. He staggered but didn't fall. "Run, Clara," he shouted. "Go." But she didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on something behind him. The last man of the gang stepped through the smoke, gun raised, face half burned, half grinning. "I told you, woman," the man snarled. "Ain't no runnin' from what you did." Clara's voice broke into a sob. "I told you I'd pay, didn't I?" Before the man could pull the trigger, She lunged forward, snatching James's fallen revolver from the dirt. And what she did next froze even the storm outside. The fire swallowed the barn in a heartbeat. The heat pressed against their skin like the breath of hell itself. Clara stood there, framed in the orange blaze, the revolver steady in her trembling hands. The burned man sneered, one eye half closed, teeth bared like a wolf. "You ain't got it in you," he rasped. "You never did." But Clara didn't hesitate. The shot cracked through the storm. The man's body jerked once, then fell, hard, lifeless, onto the dirt. James blinked through the haze of smoke, pain burning deep in his ribs. He stumbled toward her, but Clara didn't move. She stared at the gun in her hand like it was something she'd never seen before, something alive and evil. "Clara," he shouted, coughing through the black smoke. "We have to go." Her eyes finally lifted to meet his. "There's nowhere left, James. Not for me." The fire climbed higher, devouring the rafters. Sparks rained down like stars dying in the sky. James grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward the side door, the one that led out to the pasture. Together, they broke through the flames and stumbled into the rain. Outside, the world felt colder than it ever had. The storm had begun to die, leaving behind only the hiss of dying fire and the faint cry of coyotes from the distant hills. James dropped to one knee, clutching his side. His fingers came away slick with blood. Clara knelt beside him, her hands shaking. "You're bleeding bad," she said softly. He tried to smile. "Takes more than that to stop me." But they both knew the truth. She tore a strip from her dress and pressed it against the wound. He winced, then caught her hand. "Clara, listen to me. You've got to get out of here. There'll be more of them." She shook her head. "No, they'll come for you too. You helped me. You saw what I did." The rain washed streaks of ash from her face, but not the look in her eyes, the haunted, unbroken fire that had kept her alive through everything. James turned his gaze to the horizon. The first hint of dawn was breaking, pink and gold across the wet plains. "When that sun rises," he whispered, "they'll see the smoke. The whole town will. Then they'll know," she said quietly. "They'll know what I did." He looked at her for a long time. "Or maybe," he said, voice rough with something that wasn't just pain, "they'll think I did it." Clara froze. "James, no." He squeezed her hand, firm and steady. "Let them. You've suffered enough. Maybe it's time someone else bore the weight." Tears welled in her eyes. "You don't deserve that. Neither did you." A shot rang out in the distance. Another group, riders, moving fast through the rain. They had minutes, maybe less. James staggered to his feet, pulling her with him. "Get to the river. Follow it north until you hit the canyon. There's a shack there, old miner's place. You'll be safe." Clara shook her head, refusing to let go. "I won't leave you." He smiled faintly, rain dripping from the brim of his hat. "You already saved me once, Clara. Don't make it twice." Then he turned, cocking his revolver, stepping into the open field as the thunder of hooves drew nearer. The sky behind him blazed with orange light from the burning barn. He stood tall, a lone figure against the storm, the kind that legends are born from. Clara watched him from the shadows, her heart breaking with every breath. She wanted to scream, to run to him, but his voice echoed through the rain, calm and unshaken. "Go." And for the first time in years, she obeyed. She ran, barefoot through the mud, through the grass heavy with rain, the sound of gunfire chasing her into the morning. Behind her, the world erupted. The barn collapsed, fire and smoke reaching for the heavens. The gunshots faded, one by one, until there was only silence. Clara stopped on the ridge, chest heaving, and looked back. The ranch was gone, nothing but black smoke against a bleeding dawn. Somewhere down below, in that burning field, a man had chosen to become her sin so she could become something else entirely. The rain began again, soft this time, forgiving. Clara wiped her tears with shaking hands, lifted her head toward the rising sun, and whispered his name. Then she kept walking.